leads us into, you know, what is enforceable, if anything? Like what's, you know, Hunt is shaking his head, no, nothing, forget it.
You're subject to this if you're subject to it at the physical layer. And it's like a mystery, you know, Madison River, Vonage, that's how far back I can think of this going with packets. Well, what do you mean? Vonage is they're selling voice service over our internet connection, competing with our voice service? Oh, stop that. Block that. Deep packet, yeah, oh, it's all crackly, packets draw, packet loss. Well, wait a second, you can't do that. Well, why not? We control the pipe. We could do it. No, you can't do it. It's not fair. Well, now what's fair? I spent all the money to build a network, and I want to make it back on high-margin voice services, and now this guy's got some app that works over the internet that takes away my ability to sell the home user this voice service that I want to make 99% margin on. What side of that do you want to be on? You know, who, what? The internet, who, what? The capitalist, what? Who built it, who runs it? Am I the startup guy? And then you're like, okay, where's the police department? Bring them in here. Where are the sirens and the lights? Who's getting locked up? You know, lawyers and if I was Netflix and I was getting asked, is Verizon messing with the circuit and whatever? You know, that's like getting interviewed, right? You're the prisoner, you're getting interviewed. The warden's sitting there and they're asking, how's the food? You know? And it's like, okay, I love it. You know, it's great. What are you supposed to say? He's like, I'm going to cut a deal, all right, and I want this to work because I'm trying to run a business, and I know my margins are going to be impacted, but it's better than I said you did it, you said that you didn't, and now we're going to get into this long, drawn-out thing where, who knows? When you looked at it, I took a snapshot. Didn't look like anything was happening at that moment. Okay. How is it enforceable? How is it? It's the internet. It's packets. It could be 100 reasons why it didn't work. I could say it was your router. You could say it was my router. I've seen this before. Happened all the time. So.
Doesn't it all come back to that $9 a month though? So Netflix wants to charge you $9 a month for all you can eat. And that's pretty cheap, right? It's a great deal.
The cable companies look at it the same way that Madison River looked at Vonage.
Well, I guess. I mean, you look at Madison River and say, wow, that was a great success, because Madison River said, Vonage, you can't be on our network. And the FCC said, you're wrong. And so far as I know, that issue was resolved one time and forever, and it hasn't arisen again. So I look at Madison River and say, that worked out the way it should have worked out, and everything worked. I look at, you know, to the extent you looked at internet as opposed to voice, you know, there have been a couple of examples. There's Comcast, who had the issue, what was it, 5 or 6 years ago? I can't remember who it was. Anyway, you guys would remember. But you know, that issue came up, but it was addressed relatively quickly. It ended up in a lawsuit and everything else. But the practice was identified very quickly and stopped. And so, when you talk about throttling, I just don't know of any internet company that would intentionally throttle. I think you've got to define it. You got to find, are you intentionally narrowing down the flow of traffic, or is that entity not willing to buy facilities that will interconnect with you at the capacity they're sending to you? And those are different issues.
That's a legal way of defining it. I haven't invested in upgrading my equipment on the routers for the public peering sessions.
Well, if you haven't, you haven't.
We didn't have that in our budget. We didn't do it this year. So, well, let me get this straight.
No, I don't mean if Comcast had it in their budget. I mean if Cogent had it in their budget.
Oh, well,
right?
that's a different story.
Exactly.
I was talking about Comcast. I remember when YouTube, before Google acquired YouTube, did a private peering with Comcast in LA at 600 West 7th Street. I remember it like it was yesterday. They ordered 4 10-gig waves, 4 cross connects into Comcast. Comcast's entire network at the time was 40 gig. And YouTube ordered 40 gig. And they were like, you know, we're talking about doing a jumper. And they were like, that's our entire network. And YouTube's like, listen, you don't get it. We have these public internet ISP things, and the video's not getting to your networks. We got to first of all get the ISP out of the way, and we need a direct pipe to you guys. They're like, no, you don't get it. That's our entire backbone. If you connect to us at 40 gig, there is nothing else. So then YouTube said, well, you better upgrade your network. And they go, well, To what? That's going to cost us a lot of money. Well, there's all this video, and your customers want to see it, so you have to pay the money for the upgrades. I mean, this is like 8 years ago. And I remember looking at their faces, and they were completely baffled that this was even happening. So now you come forward, and they say, who's responsible for paying for the upgrade? And they could say, well, we think you are. And as long as the content guys continue to get what they want, nothing will change. So they let the public peering ports on the routers get overloaded to the point where the guy making money on the content side says, hey, your service stinks. And they go, well, there's a way to fix that. You pay for the equipment that'll direct connect into us, and we'll buy it and install it. And that's this. Yeah. And by the way, I personally think that is network neutrality, and it's also peering. And these worlds have now intersected. And the whole rest of the world that used to not even know anything about the peering community in Nanog and Ripe and Apricot, it's on the front page of the Journal now and the Times, and it matters to people. And they're starting to learn about what the economics of the internet actually are.